Something strange is happening in British schools. The number of children being home educated has risen by 40% in the last 3 years. The figures have gone up from 34,000 children in 2015 to nearly 50,000 children in 2017. Here in Wales, the trend is stark. More children are being homeschooled electively than at any other time in the last 5 years, and in greater numbers in percentage terms than any other part of the UK. Ceredigion in Mid Wales has one of the highest homeschooling numbers in the country, but it's hard to get your hands on actual numbers, and the Welsh Government admit they don't really know how many people are homeschooled. They say, "We recognise that we are currently unable to provide reliable figures on how many children are educated at home, and that's one of the reasons we'll be consulting on a database on home educators." So what exactly is going on? Why are so many mums and dads choosing to teach their kids at home? My thoughts on the Right On Homeschool Brigade aren't exactly kind. I've been quite harsh about homeschool mums in the past. I've said some pretty tough things. They chant "Mum knows best" like a mantra at breakfast. Hairdressers and Tampax are regarded as a violation of their extreme family privacy. You know, it's a nod to these kind of homeschool mums that think they're holier than thou, that are more perfect, that their little baby is simply too precious for the system. But what I'm noticing is a huge uptick in the number of regular mums, just like myself, regular Brits, who are now opting out of the state system of education. I've come to Newport to meet one of these new generation of regular mums, Tanya, who felt she had no choice but to take her gifted son out of school because there is no teaching for high achievers in Wales.
He was with a newly qualified teacher, and that's where it all sort of went horribly wrong. She was so focused on her tick box of, right, I've got to get the 20, the bulk, through for the results tables.
Get the majority through at the sort of the common denominator. Make the D grade to a C grade as opposed to possibly the A grade to an A star or whatever.
Yeah.
But for children that are super smart, off the chart, scoring very highly, there's no place for them in Welsh schools.
Well, I went back and forth to school for a period of 3 months, and I asked for her to give him more difficult work. And obviously by now, the teacher that he'd had the year before was now the deputy head. She was brilliant. So she told her to give him more difficult work. He came home then with GCSE work.
Today, little Max is having a science lesson, and it's fascinating to watch him. He's so hungry for information. He scores off the charts in his tests and is clearly an incredibly bright child. But I wonder about the kids who aren't as lucky as Max, maybe forced out of school by bullying, with parents who are not as able to teach them at home, numbers not known by the Welsh Government. The government tells me the Education Secretary has announced she intends to consult on using existing legislation to require local authorities to establish a database to identify children not on a school register, not in education otherwise than at school, and not receiving a suitable education. Whatever the hell that means. Listening to Tanya, it's clear the problem in Welsh schools extends far wider than gifted children alone. Welsh schools perform incredibly poorly in the PISA World Rankings, and Welsh schools are the worst performing in the UK. Many feel that a government obsession with the Welsh language, forcing children to learn in the medium of Welsh, is to blame. Michaela is the mother of a Down syndrome child. She knows Welsh medium schools are wrong for children with disabilities and has spoken out against them. She says the government are imposing Welsh by stealth.
They change English medium schools to Welsh medium schools.
Yes.
Normally a little bit of protest, but then people just get bullied into submission. And they're told then it's best for your children. I was not attacked in the street or anything like that, but I was attacked by, social media. There was Plaid trolls, and it was instigated, I think, by Leanne Wood. The Plaid MP wrote to Jeremy Corbyn about me. I got suspended from Labour. It was a big camp. It's like an See Me campaign all over Twitter and things like that.
And just so we're clear, this campaign against you by Leanne Woods, by politicians, by the media, that was because you spoke out against compulsory Welsh medium for, against without parental kind of choice.
There should be a choice of language.
Yes.
Schools should remain 2 languages.
Yes.
Then because I didn't want it to go all Welsh, I was branded as anti-Welsh.
Understood.
All I was doing was fighting for both languages to stay there. But they couldn't see that, because if you say one word to stop them, then you're anti-Welsh.
I received hundreds of emails and calls from educators and parents on both sides of the political divide, all keen to share their points of view. You were a school governor there, or are a school governor there?
I am the school governor in Ceredigion, yeah.
And you got in touch with me just sort of saying, you've got some views you could help explain, because Ceredigion is has one of the highest rates of homeschooling in Wales. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, I was reading today, and I think it might be because we're quite a big area, and it's rural as well.
Yes.
And maybe for a lot of parents, they find it hard to access.
Ellen acknowledged her own husband was worried about Welsh medium schooling in case he was unable to help their children with their homework.
We have both sort of views in our household. My husband doesn't speak Welsh, although he went to Welsh medium education, but he only has a very basic understanding, whereas I'm fluent in it, and I use it every day in my work, in talking to my children, in meetings, etc. So we have both views on it, and my husband's always been a bit scared of Welsh medium education. He was frightened that maybe he wouldn't be able to help the children with homework, and he felt like he might get left out in a way with school stuff.
And just as I had been warned by Michaela, the attack dogs of the press, the politicians and the bureaucrats came after me, simply for being in Wales and daring to question the system. Wales Online dived in, as did countless politicians, media outlets and Welsh nationalists, not to mention the angry mob on Twitter. The issue around education in Wales is fascinating, and I think it's interesting that the politicians are quick to notice that I'm here, but very slow to address the fact that Wales is a grossly underperforming nation when it comes to education, and I would have thought that would be their priority. And it makes no sense in a country where education scores are the worst in the UK for maths, English and science, and results are falling off a cliff. Why prioritise an arbitrary target of 1 million Welsh speakers by 2050? Why punish children for speaking English when it's the language of college and work? And why the obsession on a dead language when both high performers and children with additional learning needs are being marginalised and forced out? Young people recognise all this Welsh language obsession is a bit pointless by the time you reach college. People say Welsh schools are a bit crap. Is that fair?
Yeah, very fair. Yeah, very.
What do you say? Is it fair?
Yeah, I would say they should all get smashed down.
A Welsh medium school means you're taught, you learn in Welsh.
Yeah.
Were you allowed to use English as a conversational language at school?
Do you mean as in a social aspect with?
Exactly right.
No.
On playgrounds and stuff, when we're talking with our friends, we are told that we have to speak Welsh. If we speak English, then we're almost punished. We get detention and stuff. It's really not fair.
I think if you have no relation to Wales, if you don't visit it regularly, if you have no family here, if you weren't born in Wales and you have no connection, if you have no care about Wales,
Yes.
which I don't believe Katie Hopkins does, then I don't believe you should have a say.
There are schools here that only, this was a surprise to me, probably not to you, that only speak Welsh, Welsh medium schools. They teach maths through the medium of Welsh. Does that surprise you?
A little bit, yeah, actually. Yeah,
I know.
It's a bit crazy.
Do you think it's important that Welsh is taught in schools?
Not really, no.
And why not? Because many people say...
Because no one speaks it.
Do you get to speak Welsh now?
Not really, because I've just started a course at the college, and it's an English course.
When it comes to jobs and stuff, there isn't much use for it.
I came here to Wales to understand why so many mums and dads are choosing to homeschool their children. And so many people have been in touch. It's been an amazing thing. The thing is, when you come to places, people want to share their truths. And the truths of this place are complicated. Some people need to homeschool their children because they're exceptionally clever. Other people struggle with Welsh medium schools where only Welsh is taught and are removing their children because they're confused trying to learn maths in Welsh. And other people feel strongly and proudly, defiantly patriotic that Welsh really matters. Here, it's okay to be a proud nationalist. But one thing I have come away thinking, with Welsh education scores being so low and Wales performing so poorly from an educational perspective, is perhaps the Welsh government have got their priorities entirely wrong.